So used to seeing and yeah. Oh, it's recording on. Okay.
Okay, the recording's on, the live streaming's on. If you start, I'll just let people in as when they
Right.
arrive.
Okay.
So where you go? Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so shall I start or should we wait for
Yeah. No, no, just start because they do normally start to come in just on time. So
oh, okay.
yeah,
And can I know like how many are we expecting normally?
about 20, I would think.
Oh, okay, that's great. So that means we can have like a nice kind of an intimate conversation. I haven't, it's not like kind of me doing a lecture because people are able to get this information, more like a conversation. Making it more interactive. So I hope it's okay. So firstly, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being part of this presentation. And my name is quite long, Dr. Lakshmir Manchari, and I'm going to give you an overview about surveys and interviews. Mainly beyond that, mainly looking at why we have to do mixed method research and how to design a mixed method research and what are the various pros and cons. So before we go further, just change screen. Yes, I want to give a brief background about who I am. So I'm born, brought up in India, in a small town called Trichy. I don't know anybody from that place or in India. So I did my chemical engineering in Annamalai University and then worked as a software programmer for some time. After that, I came to Bolton to do my master's in business computing systems. And then I was fortunate enough to get a funding to do a PhD like you all. So I did a PhD and the funding came from ERDF funded project. So I had an opportunity to work with hundreds of mid-sized manufacturing companies and looking at how they could improve their um, business performance using ERP systems. So we did a lot of consulting, and that naturally formed a part of my research project and PhD. And I did mixed method in that. So I was actually asking a very basic question like, what sort of benefits do organizations get out of implementing ERP systems? So I did do a survey about uh, yeah, I forgot the number now. It's been a while. So I think a few hundred companies, I think, did a survey about it and then interviewed quite a lot of SMEs and then developed a framework on the kind of benefits that could be obtained doing from implementing ERP systems. So then on, I did teach in different parts of the world, like Malawi, Zambia, Malaysia, Vietnam. In fact, now I'm in Vietnam, so I've been into Botswana, Malay. So I've been in teaching a range of programs in supply chain, operations management, information management technologies, and so on. And now I'm also an associate professor at Royal Holloway, University of London. And there I'm also responsible for recruitment and marketing. Apart from that, I do some consulting with the London councils, wherein I try to examine the kind of support offered by the London councils for SMEs to become sustainable. And this is just finished, and this was accepted and approved by London councils. And we did adopt a mixed method research. So where we did interview around 50 odd SMEs, but it was a big work package. Along with that, there was an interview that involved survey interviewing councils, SMEs, and then they wanted to have a framework for monitoring and evaluating green economy, where we did a lot of looked into the quantitative data sets that are available. So the second part is mainly qualitative research, where we just did interviews. In the first part, we mainly looked at the data sets that are available, and then we interviewed a lot of managers in the council. So I'm kind of a multi-method and mixed method researcher. But primarily, we have done a lot of interviews, we have done a lot of surveys, we have done quantitative analysis, and I have done mixed method research as well. So, but in the so happen that the projects that I'm working on appear to be more interview or a multi method rather than a mixed method. So then you may be asking, what is the difference between multi and mixed method? So that is what I'm going to share in this presentation. So essentially I want to try and give away a few thoughts, and it's going to be more of an interactive conversation. So before I go further, perhaps do you mind giving an introduction of who you are? We have only, I think, two, Felix and is it only Felix? And
There's Dr. Maiden as well.
oh yeah, sorry. Dr. Maiden, maybe do you mind saying hello?
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Hamirina Maidin. I'm currently a lecturer at Sunway College. I did my PhD in business administration, and I'm currently lecturing in principles of management and entrepreneurship.
Wow, Sunway College, Malaysia. That's fantastic. Just now we had some conversation with your college, so we are very close. Thank you. Thank you. Really, really nice to meet you, Dr. Maiden. Great to meet you. And we'll be in touch very soon between college to college. And over to you, Mr. Felix Lee. Felix? Hmm.
Okay, I
Sure.
guess they've walked away from the screen.
So what shall we do, Martin? Shall
Just
I continue or?
just continue because there are people on the streaming side of things as well.
Right, no problem. So, but what I would really want to, take you with would be at the end of the day, you have to know and identify that, I mean, you should realize that one method isn't sufficient. And you need to know when it is not sufficient. Okay, so that is the first thing. Choosing a research method design is it's a very important and strategic process, and hence you need to really be quite aware about it. Obviously, there are four mixed method research designs, and then you need to also recognize what they are and why they are important, what are the pros and cons, along with how multi-method kind of differs from this major mixed method research designs. And then we need to, as a PhD DBA researcher, you would be always prompted this question like, why did you just choose this method? And you should learn to justify the methodological decision. So we need to keep practicing that and say, what would a researcher do? What are the constraints and why they choose a specific technique? And finally, you could try and avoid some of the kind of errors. And I mean, examiners normally pick holes in the methodology. So I've examined, I don't even know how many, maybe around 20, 25 PhD thesis. And one thing where people always find pleasure is finding holes in your methodology chapter. So they would want to know why you did that, and you really want to justify, and they would say you could have done that, and you need to learn to justify that. So if we could try and go through that together. Actually, I was creating a form. Obviously, I thought it's going to be an interactive conversation. So the whole question was about if you click this link. It asks very fundamental questions, I think. So it would be like the questions are, where are you with regard to your doctoral journey? So if Mr. Felix Lee is available, it would be really great if you could, come and give your response. and assume that you might be in the proposal development or, undertaking literature review stage. And then I also wanted to know which approach that you would be currently considering. And this is very interesting, and where we as a researcher are going. Okay, so can you see my screen, Martin? The form survey question?
Yeah, yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So currently, when you look at the top reputed journal, this for a long time, they tend to prefer research which are highly generalizable. So you have to really advance knowledge, and that is possible only if you could generalize the findings. And there was a natural inclination to go towards quantitative research, and this was even in my days, and even now, if you, there are a lot of journals, they prefer quantitative research, and people tend to choose a method by taking the endpoint in goal. So they think that I need to get my research published in this journal. It's a top tier journal. And they would say that, okay, if I really want to get in there, quantitative would be the most appropriate one. And so many researchers take that route. But having said that, there are recently quite a lot of journals are mainly looking at qualitative inquiry as well. So, and then mixed method is getting more prominence because it kind of addresses both the research designs. So, I would strongly, suggest you to take a pragmatic approach while choosing this choice of research method and the design, because this would have a big impact in the contribution to knowledge. Um, and then I wanted to ask whether how confident you are in designing research, because when you design a research, you have to take a lot of things into account. It's not only getting published in a top journal output, but also things like, do I have the expertise? Do I have the time? Do I have the resources? Which is priority? And more importantly, what am I trying to inquire? So that is where all the paradigms come into picture. I'm sure by now you would be quite very well aware about the major research paradigms, like what is reality, how do we seek truth, do you believe that research, that truth is objective, or do we believe that research is subjective, and what is the ontological and epistemological assumptions? So all those things that actually try and drill down into the kind of approach that you take for doing research. So you have to take a lot of factors into account while deciding research. So actually, I had this activity in mind. So now let's assume that you are the lead research consultant, okay, for a given situation or a scenario. So now AI is everywhere. So everybody wants to do research about AI, and they want to know how AI is actually impacting organizations. So I've tried to put one along that. So a multinational retailer has invested 50 million pound in an AI-powered customer service platform across 250 stores. Okay, so this is what has happened. And 6 months has passed. Okay. And from that, you could see the revenue has gone up by 4%, and the customer satisfaction has increased from 78 to 86%. So the CEO was asking, should we invest another 100 million pounds so that we can roll it out to other regions? If you are a lead research consultant, what do you think the answer would be? Maybe Martin, do you mind giving a go?
My immediate question is, I don't know what the level of revenue is, so I don't know whether 4% is good or bad or indifferent.
Oh,
So,
that. Mhm.
yep. But given that revenue's gone up and customer satisfaction has gone up, I would say, subject to understanding what the real numbers are, we would look at it because it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yes. Actually, when we see it from the objectively, we can see that it's obviously a multinational company, so it's all over the world, and you could see that there is potential for growth, and so then they collect more data. Now the employee turnover, okay, has increased by 9%. People, I believe, from 9% has increased 17%, and employees are less engaged. Now, do you think our actions would be different, or what would that be for CEO
Uh,
to?
Again, my opinion, just based on the numbers, if more people are leaving and there's less engagement, then it's possibly AI is just part of the dissatisfaction factor. They see their jobs disappearing,
Mm,
or they see that the role diminishing. Um, that's going to have an effect on the way the company
mm,
operates as a whole. So I would say that's a reason to put a brake on it to a
mm.
certain extent.
And now, at the same time, we can also see that there is no significant change in ratings. The customer complaints have gone down. So the customers appear to be more happy, and obviously the employees are not that happy. And as a lead researcher, you've been invited to try and investigate to know what could be done. Okay, so now that we have discussed the context, so I'm going to give you some options and let's see which one you would pick. So you have a research budget. That budget allows you to choose one of the three things. We can either survey a total of 2,000 customers or employees, or you would interview 20 customers, 20 frontline employees, and 10 managers, or you would survey 400 participants and 15 interviews. And if you were to choose only one option as a lead research consultant, what would you do?
Dr. Myden, over to you.
So
Yeah, let me
obviously,
try.
yeah,
Sorry, you were saying?
uh, Doctor, I mean, this is a context that we were discussing. So,
Uh-huh.
this is a context where a company is investing 50 million pound on an AI-powered customer service. And after 6 months, they realized that the satisfaction revenue has really gone up. Customer complaint have gone down, but employee turnover and engagement has down. So the CEO was thinking that, oh, we need to make a decision. This is a board decision, and we need to check whether we need to expand globally or not. So obviously, all companies, they first do a trial run and then they expand a global rollout. So as a lead research consultant, you've been asked to, come up with a solution. So your task is to undertake research. And in this case, you can choose only one option, either survey, interview, or mixed method.
Um, so basically the participants, are they the customers or the employees? Both, is it customers and
And
employees?
employees, yeah,
And
2,000 in
managers as
total.
well.
Yeah, it's not individual, a combination of customer and employees. And we could take our own, like it could be 50-50 or it could be 75-20. We could pick our ratio. We have the choice.
So I think the best option will be to do the mixed method, consisting
Mm,
of both the survey and interview. Perhaps do the survey first, and then get a preliminary overview of what could be the possible underlying situation, and then conduct an interview
mhm,
um, with more questions, follow-up questions to based on the
mm,
findings from the survey.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think this
Mm,
really comes around to the fact that you want to know what has changed the metrics in this, and therefore
mm,
you need the understanding reasons why people are moving. Therefore,
mm,
it leads very solidly into the mixed methods, which says, get some general data on it, but also let's get some reasoning behind
mm.
why people are moving. So yeah, I would agree, mixed methods.
Actually, this is, I mean, there is no, I mean, no right or wrong answer. And yes, that sounds quite appropriate because If we survey 400, it's a good number, it's generalizable, and if we could carefully do that. But then if you take the case here, the customers seem to be happy and seem to be a very large organization. And if we take the option one, perhaps it could be more generalizable. So there's always a pros and cons. But naturally, I was inclined towards the mixed method as well. Um, but when we choose this option, well, I mean, these are the follow-up questions. Like, I really want to know why you choose the option, and perhaps then we look at the kind of evidence. So when we look into this mixed method, if we do a survey and interview, what sort of evidence do you think you will get?
In terms of the survey or in terms of the
Yeah, both
interview?
a survey and interview.
I mean, in terms of the survey, you're only going to get a tick box in terms of do I like this, do I not like this, but I prefer to
Mm,
work in a more old-fashioned sort of way or whatever. So that's not really going to tell you that much.
mm,
In terms of interviews, um, I think you'll get more information out of the employees than you
mm.
would out of the customers or the managers.
Yeah, so you may get a
But
very nuanced understanding of what is happening, isn't it? So,
yeah,
okay, yeah. But if we were to do that, do you think something else might be missing?
well, I've already mentioned that I need to
Mm,
understand the financial figure behind the 4% increase, whether that's
mm,
justified in terms of the expenditure.
mm. If we
Um,
can assume that the AI has actually resulted, and we can say that rest all is the same, ceteris paribus, and it's because of AI we can see a jump in revenue, and it's going to so many, maybe millions and millions, and they believe that this is going to be the next thing. So here, probably the evidence that we miss would be we are gathering. If we choose mixed method, then um, we are getting opinion of only 15 kind of people, and we may not have the luxury of what how generalizable that would be. So ideally we would like to know more, because this is quite a large organization, and with 15 interviews, and that too the CEOs making a bet about spending another 100 million. So perhaps we need to have more data into that, isn't it? And we assume, and the assumptions that we make here. So when we make a choice, we believe that the opinion of the 400 people and the 15 interviews is what would be the wider population's, opinion, isn't it? And that is an assumption that we would like to make. Is that a valid assumption?
yes, I think so.
Mhm. And how likely are we going to be wrong if we say that the employee count is like 8,000 people are working in this firm? Do we think our assumptions can go wrong, or
Well, of course they can, and the more
mm,
general the assumption, the more likely it is that it's going to go
mm,
wrong.
yeah, that's true. So these are the challenges when it comes to research. As I said before, if we have only one, when we do research, we want to achieve more, but there will be always constraints. And in this case, we can choose only one of these three options. In other case, we might want to complete that within a specified time period. Uh, for example, surveys are really great because you can execute a survey and get your results in a very very short duration. For example, the project that I did with London councils, it took 6 months for us to do like 55 interviews. That includes council managers, banks, so many different stakeholders. So time is very important, and sometimes priority. So we'll be looking at how much budget do we have access to those connections. Getting connections alone can be a big issue, and do we really want to understand what is happening in field, or would you like to generalize it to the wider audience? So this is what should be going on in your mind while we choose the research design. And in this case, yes, mixed method is can be appropriate. For example, the surveys are normally generalizable, which means that you can, apply that to a wider population. So that is where we have so many sampling techniques, and you can develop a hypothesis, and then you test whether the hypothesis can be validated or not, and you can test again the significance level as well, and you can even perform kind of which factor has the greatest impact, like extra exploratory factor or a confirmatory factor analysis. And that's structured equation modeling has been the most popular research quantitative technique I can see in the recent past. In the last maybe 10 years or so, that's a huge increase in SEM analysis. So that is quantitative. And we can tell with certainty, but you can't tell why. But with interviews, we get, for example, with the kind of interviews I had some very deep, detailed insights. For example, once we looked into the effectiveness of the funding provided by UKRI. Say UKRI actually funded innovation and knowledge centers, and we wanted to know whether the funding they gave had an impact on the organization or not. They spent like 100 million pounds over like 10 different universities, where when we had the interviews, we had a very good understanding on how the funding was used. And then we collected econometric data, and then we saw extent to which the funding had contributed to the business growth in that sector. So it is great, and we can get some very insightful knowledge, and that was very helpful for UKRI because they could redesign their current offerings that suits their needs, and use mixed method when you have really good breadth, where you want to understand a lot of different things and explain why. So then mixed method can be very relevant kind of technique. So now that we have put a business case where this mixed method would be very appropriate, then we need to ask this question: what exactly is mixed method? So this is like a generic definition. Mixed method research intentionally integrates quantitative and qualitative evidence to answer a research question that neither approach could adequately answer alone. So as we can see, we want both generalizability as well as the depth and the nuances. And interviews are qualitative, may not be able to be generalized. This is their popular assumption, okay? We believe that interviews cannot be generalized, but you can't take this as de facto standard. You might be doing research on a very small scale, and you may want to really understand what is happening for that research setting. And when that is the case, interviews can be applied and generalizable to the whole organization. Okay? Whereas it might not be a contribution or may not be applicable to other research setting, but generalizable in the sense it can be applied to that organization. So you have to understand that nuance. Not people blindly say that qualitative research is not generalizable. But then when you talk about generalizability, you need to pick a context and then see whether it can be generalizable or not. And obviously, mixed method does integrate. So we have to bear in mind, mixed method is where you have one research question and you are trying to answer that from two different lenses. So that is where you are moving away from a multi-method, okay? And obviously, mixed method tries to complement the other technique as well. So it tries to complement the drawback of each other. And so when do you think it's mixed method is very useful is where you are trying to do a survey and you need to know you have found something, but you don't know why that is the case. So, for example, this did happen in one of the research I did. We were doing, we found that this was a sandwich manufacturing factory, and we found that there was one specific, we had a lot of rejections happening. So, and at that time, we didn't know why that was the case. And we could see that the sandwiches made were getting rejected by the retailer. And we have to bear in mind that this is a very large sandwich manufacturing company with quite a lot of people working. And then we were trying to dig deeper. The data says that the thing is rejected. And then we want to know why. So we dig deeper and then we try to zero in on a specific shift and then on a specific manager, because we found there's a recurrence, and this we could discover only talking to so many different people. And then we found that whenever there was this specific manager, the shift on a specific individual, whenever they are working, the rejection goes up. So we try in order to understand that, we did this finding that is rejection is high, but to dig deeper, we need to really work with shift managers, floor managers, and understand that to try to zero in on the problem. So when you have an unexpected quantitative findings and when you really want to know why, then mixed method research would be very, very appropriate. And for example, it could be something brand new, and you want to know not only you are launching a brand new product, so just you want to get the user experience. In those instances, a survey or one method would not be sufficient. So having a mixed method would be really, really useful. And when there's some contradictory evidence, so you do a survey, and then that is contradicting what you already know, and you want to really know why it's happening, and then you do an interview, or the interview you have like customers, and you two or three different stakeholders, they all have different opinion about the same thing. Then you can follow it up with a survey. So it could be uh, you know understanding more. Okay. And this, whenever we have a very complex organizational change like a digital transformation or implementing a brand new system, or you are trying to bring in a new supply chain project into the organization, and you want to know what is happening, then obviously mixed method is the most appropriate technique. And obviously, as a PhD or a DB, a researcher, you would be interested to build a theory. Okay, so if you really want to build a theory, then you need a mixed method, because you first generate the theory from the qualitative aspect, and then you can enhance it by using a survey. So then theory building would be a lot more robust. You not only develop a proposition, but then you validate the proposition through a survey. So this is a common mistake a lot of people do, is where they try to combine multi-method. So they have multiple research questions, and they would say that, okay, I want to measure customer satisfaction. I want to try and understand how customers feel about a new system. So there could be two different research questions, and you might be using different methods. So that is not actually mixed method, and that is multi-method. Okay. So multi-method is where you are having two or more methods to answer the questions. Okay. You're using more than one method. But it may be answering different questions. Okay. And here in mixed method, you are actually combining both for the same research question. So that is why this is where I've seen researchers make mistakes. So they call multi-method as a mixed method, thinking that if I do survey and interview, it's called a mixed method. And the external easily cherry picks that like that and just drops it like a ton of bricks. And then you will be said that, oh, that's a major change and you need to you'll be given like 6 months to rework on it. So you have to be very careful on defining whether it's a multi-method or mixed method. And mixed method requires genuine integration. So you are having some sort of a sequence in exploring it in detail rather than just asking two different questions. And obviously, your main goal is to have some sort of a bigger understanding. That should be your main goal. Okay. So when we talk about this mixed method, we have like these four designs, and obviously they are quite self-explanatory. So you may want to have a sequential and an explanatory research. So you want to try, and when we say explanatory research, you really want to understand something and know why that is happening. Okay. So what you do is where you do a survey, okay, and you have done a survey and say that customers are really happy or the system that you implemented is bringing benefits. So people report that it is giving you some, wow, really good sort of value to the organization. And you may think, okay, let me follow that with why that is the case. So here your main goal in explanatory research is to explain why some things are happening. Whereas in exploratory research, you start off with asking, uh, you know, uh, trying to explore the current situation. What is the current feeling in the field? What do employees think about? And then you may think that, okay, all my employees, they are saying that I'm really happy with the new management. They are happy with the new leadership. They are happy with the strategy. That's what people may are very positive, and they are very appreciative of the management. And then you may think, is that the reality, or should we try and understand more? And you may want to back it up with a survey and say that what do the wider public think about these findings. So then it becomes an exploratory research. And then you can have a convergent where you are doing it in parallel. So you may have like two strands and you may try to do at the same time. And in embedded is where you may want to do test it in a smaller sample and try to explore and embed that into a larger design. So you might want to start off, imagine you want to test the efficiency of a new mobile app. So you might do as an embedded design where you may have a really a large survey. Within that, you make a small sample of users to test this app, based on which you would do the larger one. And that is what you call as the embedded design. So we have to be very careful in choosing which approach is essential for you. And again, it depends on your philosophical thinking. What is the nature of reality? What are we trying to achieve? Is truth is objective or is it subjective? So all these philosophical underpinnings will influence the kind of research design that you are adopting. So as we can see, providing some examples in detail. So for example, you do a survey, like a sequential survey. So you do a survey and find something really unexpected. And then you try an interview and find out what is the cause for that. So now think about this. A company finds customer satisfaction has fallen. What should happen next? Which design should we choose?
Interview dissatisfied customers.
Yeah, fantastic answer. Yes, because that will give you more understanding. So Thank you, Martin. It's really kind of you. So now we have another scenario like sequential exploratory. And here we try and, do some interviews and, develop a theory and follow a survey. So, for example, you want to know the extent to which AI is being adopted. So you ask SMEs. My research is in SMEs, so I use SMEs a lot. So you interview them and you look at the barriers, and then you do a survey and see whether it can be generalizable or not. Um, would this design be appropriate if previous theory exists? Little previous theory exists.
But I'd like to say it depends because it,
Mm,
obviously, if there is a previous theory, there is a framework
mm,
that you can work within.
mm.
But it depends on the variables that you're going to be looking at within that framework.
Yeah.
So,
So again, it depends on situation to situation. But ideally, if there is very little theory, normally we develop the theory and then we try and test the theory by a survey. So in that sense, even if there is little previous theory, if you really want to build a theory, obviously you will first start off with understanding. Theories are nothing but you observe something and you really want to know why that is the case. So you observe that there is a probably fall in increase in sales, okay, in on a Friday evening. So you observe something and then you may say why that is the case. And then you would, when you want to ask why, you will use a theory. Oh, maybe you go and do an interview, for example, and you may do observation and say on a Friday, a lot of people go out and they may want to have a pizza, and hence that is the reason why we are able to, see an increase. So theories are useful in explaining why a certain phenomena that you're observing is happening. Okay. And once you want to know why, if you want to generalize it, you can test it by a quantitative research. You can test it by using an experiment. You can test it by doing a survey. So even if you don't have any little theory, then you could do a survey. So in this case, we could say that even if little previous theory exists, this would be a very appropriate design. Um, so convergent is where both are run in parallel, and you are trying to combine both. Okay. So now let's have a think about it. Now we have a survey where the survey is saying something. This happens a lot when I do a survey with students about how satisfied they are. They would say that they will all give a very positive rating. And then when you go and interview them, they would say, they give like 100 things. Oh, that is not good. This is not good. We could improve that. The class, the resources was not there. Library. They come with so many things. So now we can see that the interviews are saying something and surveys are saying something. And sometimes surveys could be coercive in nature. People, they may think that there would be an, afraid to, you know, uh, in some cases that where manager might know who is participating and they might afraid to share their opinion, so they might give you a different answer. Or in interviews, when you are asking in person, they may say really good things about you, and in a survey it could be anonymous and they might be really trying to say something bad, so they might be a lot more outright. So that could be a disagreement. In those cases, what should the researcher do?
I would say explore the contradiction between the two
Yeah,
of them.
yeah, because we can't ignore both. and we need to identify why that is the case. Maybe go back to maybe take a sample of the survey respondents, sample of the interview respondents, and try to ask them why they feel that. And in many cases, if you done sequentially, surveys are the snapshot, your opinion at that point in time. And this opinion can change drastically. So you might have given a bonus, and straight away people are giving you amazing response. But in reality, that opinion might change. Maybe next month, once they know they are going to be sacked. So, yeah, we need to explore that by taking two samples in and explore them in further detail. So embedded is where we do an experiment or a survey and then try to, have a larger design. So for example, you know, leadership training. So you might train a small set of leaders, and then you see the performance by doing first you do a survey, and then you can follow that with a bigger interviews or observation, or you can first start with an observation followed with an interview and so on. So why might researchers embed interviews inside a larger quantitative study?
Just to get more depth in terms of the answer, in terms of what's happening.
So normally, when we do a quantitative study, we tend to try and reach out to hundreds of people. So what they normally do is where they do to develop the questionnaire, to pilot the questionnaire, they have some sort of a qualitative research embedded within that. So they get the findings, they fine-tune them, and then they go to a bigger study. So it could be like a pilot, and hence you are able to make sure that the research question that you're using is appropriate. So think about this situation. A PhD student surveys 500 customers about satisfaction with a new banking app and gets mixed inconclusive results. To find out why, she randomly selects 12 survey respondents to interview. What design is being attempted here?
That's just straightforward interviews, isn't it?
Firstly, the student does 500 customers. So you're having a survey, and then you're following it up with an interview. So this would be in number 2. Design, yeah. You have, first one, explanatory. So you try and do a survey and find an interesting findings which you're not sure, so you are going towards interview. It's a sequential exploratory research. Okay. But is there any error that you would like to you can find in this?
Well, I suppose you could be talking about the customers who are selected, or respondents who are selected. They could all be from one particular line of thinking. So
Fantastic.
they could be male, or they could be female, or they could be a certain age demographic. Yeah, they could be students, for example.
Really great answer, Martin. So one thing is the student is choosing randomly, but when you say inconclusive results, obviously there might be somebody who might be happy, somebody not be happy. So we really want to ensure that we get all the opinions, okay? And when you want to interview, we need to make sure that they are representative of both the results, so that you can get some sort of conclusive outcome. And yeah, that's how you could fix it. So when we think about mixed method research, we need to make sure that an excellent mixed method research are those which integrates both the techniques in a coherent manner, okay? And the timing, are we doing it in parallel and sequence? So that plays a big role. And sometimes priority. So how important it is. So is it quantitative first or is it qualitative first, and so on. Okay. So obviously based on research question, what is that you are going to do? And more importantly, when you present the results, what people have done, they put the questionnaire, the survey results first, interview results later on, rather than they're not integrating both. So you should learn to integrate the findings, combine, and then create this grand inference. Okay, so that is the main thing that you need to, uh, have in mind. And when you design the research question, you need to design in such a way that it's not sounding like a multi-method. Okay. So obviously, when we want to justify, people ask this question, why do you want to choose mixed method? I gave you an obvious one just for ease of conversation. So people may say, because it provides richer data, but if you look at the version B, it's a lot more convincing. So you need to be very strong in the way you try to build your argument on why mixed method is important. So actually, as you can see, the mixed method B was chosen. Why? Because the researchers sought to establish prevalence of AI adoption while simultaneously explaining the organizational mechanisms. So we have to try and provide a very strong justification rather than provide a very vague ones. So these are the things which you need to avoid, okay? So don't think we should do a survey later or find it interesting. It's sounding more rigorous, but it has to be all tied to your research question, okay? So finally, these are things that I want you to, leave you with. So research questions are the ones that are driving your method. Okay, it's not like the tail wagging the dog. So you have to make sure that it's well aligned. And the purpose is integration. With the whole intention is to integrate, not having two research separate questions. Okay. And yes, you need to know the difference. And obviously, whatever technique you choose, there is always some drawbacks. So you should learn how to justify them. Okay. So that kind of gives you an overview about research methods and the various research method techniques. Sorry. And which one to choose and what to avoid. Okay. And you should learn to try and, defend it. Thank you very much for patiently being in
Okay.
my talk and answering all the questions, Martin.
Well,
Um,
thank you. I hope some people who are on the live stream were listening in as well. We did get a few. So yeah.
okay.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Yes. And Dr. Maiden, thank you as well.
Thank you, Dr. Maiden.
Thank you. It was very informative. Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I was wondering, right, with this
Yeah.
mixed method,
Mm-hmm.
does both the survey and the interview have to test the same factors? Can they test different factors within the same topic?
Yeah, you can have one broad research question, but it has to lead to another. For example, if you find in an interview, if you identify certain factors and you want to validate it, so you are trying to take those factors and validate it. But if you add more factors, maybe that may not sound like a true mixed method. So I would take, if you have a true mixed method, you are just trying to validate what you found from the interviews. So yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the thoughtful question. Yeah.
Okay, Joey, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah. Take care. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll see you later. All right,
Thanks. Yeah.
thank you.
Bye. Bye.
All right, bye everyone.